In a world where BFS reels are becoming common, one reel maintains a mystique that spans decades. Born in 2004, during the dawn of the bait finesse revolution, when Hiroyuki Motoyama first wrote of a new technique. Before BFS became a trademark, before the technique divided anglers, one reel emerged that would become a legend.
For those new to the channel, BFS stands for Bait Finesse System. It's a specialized fishing technique and gear type that focuses on ultralight lures and incredibly precise ultralight reels. And while I've reviewed dozens of modern BFS reels on this channel, nothing quite compares to this. The 2004 limited edition Daiwa Pixy Liberto in airy red, new in box. And while I grew up a diehard Shimano fan, this reel represents something special from an area when BFS was just beginning to emerge. And look at this. I mean, you can still smell, like, greases and oils smell different 20 years ago, you know? And you can smell it in here. In fact, look at this. This might be worth what I paid for the whole thing. It's all in Japanese, but this is some old school Daiwa bearing oil, real oil. I mean, you've seen it in the intro, right? But look at that. Brand new. Like, never before used. I was a little worried there. I was like, it's not turning. The drag is so light on this that when you turn it down all the way, it doesn't move the spool. How cool is that? Wow, is this beautiful. There's just something about this reel that... Now these days, people still argue whether or not BFS was originally for bass or trout, but today it's both. That also causes some disagreements over the weight ranges for BFS. Some say that it's a maximum of 8 grams, and people like me are like, hey, there almost is no weight limit. It's kind of like arguing over the differences between running and jogging when someone's just doing it for exercise. Both are cardio, both are different than walking. So where I stand on this is, if you're using a BFS shallow spool reel, then you're fishing with BFS gear. The rod just has to be able to cast what you want. But here's the thing. Every time in the past, I have mentioned that Shimano trademarked the term BFS, and it's really what made it become popular. Somebody mentions that Daiwa had a BFS reel well before Shimano. And it's kind of like fishermen on the internet just like to argue, you know? How much does this fish weigh? Oh, that can't be 5 pounds. That can't be 6 pounds. Oh, well, you know what? Whatever. You weren't there. Anyway, while I've not held back on my opinion regarding the first American BFS releases that Daiwa did, you know, I saw those as overpriced versions of previous Asian market reels. I do still have an appreciation for Daiwa reels. So I even picked up their latest release, the Alphas BF TW. And so I'll be giving this one a go this year too. You know, when the opportunity to pick up one of these seemingly mythical vintage Daiwa BFS reels, the Pixy, when that came up, I had to grab it. You know, because every time somebody mentions one of these reels, it's almost like this, you know, hushed reverence, you know? It's like, oh, they're... And they still go for a pretty penny. Now this one is unused, limited edition, red. It cost me a little over $300 with shipping. I know that's not cheap. And I'll tell you what, the first impression out of the box, it's not a disappointment. I'm kind of thinking like, man, I wish they finished reels like this these days. There's definitely a certain quality to this reel. It's impressive. So my real question is, will it even hold a candle to today's reels? Right? Has 20 years of improvement and innovation left this reel behind? Now these were so popular that there were a ton of, and there still are a ton of aftermarket parts to really tune these to exceptional performance. And those reels are often referred to as Pixzillas. Now whether Whether I eventually seek out one of those is probably just a matter of time, to be honest with you, because again, first impressions, this thing is blowing my mind. Since virtually all of my other reels are pretty much stock, I think this stock new in box Pixy is a great benchmark. And also the popularity of the Pixy, known as the PX68, it's part of why many felt slighted when Daiwa rebadged the 2020 Alphas Air as the PXBF for the American market last year. You know, that's kind of like Ford putting Mustang on their EV. Let's dive into the specs and compare this to one of Daiwa's latest reels. So first is weight. The Alphas was 166, so it shows up as 168 on my scale today. The Pixy shows up as 160, and it was supposed to be 158, so maybe my scale is off by 2 grams. Both of these are running just a little heavy. The Alphas, I got the Alphas in the 8.5 to 1 gear ratio. This is a surprisingly slow 5.8 to 1. Now, I like a couple slow reels, so this could become like my paddle tail swim bait smallmouth catching machine. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. You can't, I mentioned all the parts, right? So you can swap in the 7.2 to 1 gears from an Alphas SV105SH for faster speed. I probably won't do that, but it is something you can do. Spool diameter, the new Alphas is 30 millimeters. That's a change from the 28 millimeter that they've been using. And the Pixy is 31 millimeters, so it's even a little bit larger. But you can see it's not a super shallow spool. There are shallow spools available, but the initial pricing on those that I found is somewhere between $90 and $135. I mean, that's a whole extra reel. Not a Pixy, but it's an extra reel. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I'm going to try it out to see how it does stock. So let's look at spool weights. So the Alphas is right at 8 grams. It's what it's supposed to be. Oh, this has a screw. Be right back. I'm almost hesitant to do this just because this thing has survived 20 years as being untouched, unmolested. So I'm using a very light touch. I'm still going to fish it. I mean, it's going to get scratches, and that's all there is to it. But honestly, I'm assuming this doesn't come off. Okay, so that's good. It rotates. This feels like another one of my maybe I'm just not smart enough moments. This is why I don't modify reels either, because I'm not sure how to get this thing out of here. There we go. I don't know if that made a difference or if it just took time. Let's see what this is. 14 grams, which is not surprising. I mean, there are plenty of BFS reels that have like 12 to 14 gram spools. It's not the modern trend, but understand that this is going to be able to throw bigger weights. It's got a lot more depth capacity on it. I'm actually kind of surprised at the braking system though. I thought this was going to be much more like an old school kind of centrifugal braking system, but it's honestly, does this move? Oh wow. So this is like the forerunner of the initial, I don't know if this is one of the first ones, but this essentially has Daiwa's air braking system already in it. And I did not know that, so that's very cool. Makes me even more excited to use this. It is kind of spring-loaded in there too. Can you see that? So there's something going on with the you know, the red is much more saturated on today's reels than this. There's part of me that thinks this is going to look beautiful with my Hunt BFS rods. The Alphas has a drag of 3.5 kilograms or around 7 pounds. The Pixy is 1.5 kilograms or only around 3 pounds. Doesn't have a lot of drag, but again, I think that's fine for bait finesse. It does not have a clicking drag. You guys know how much I like that. It also doesn't have a clicking drag star or clicking spool tension. The brake adjustment does click, however. So that's at max. That's at min. So we'll just set it straight up in the middle. The Alphas, as you know, it's got clicking although the spool tension, this one This one you do not adjust the spool tension, but it does have the clicking drag to clicking drag star. Nice old school knobs. You can see they're a good bit chunkier. The handle's actually fairly long. I would have thought for an older reel, and I kind of love the drag star. These rounded edges. It's not this spiky thing. I like the way that looks, even though the color is a little off compared to the rest of the reel. I really like the way the drag star looks in this. So one of the things I liked about the Alphas was this button feel is just fantastic, right? I mean, they did a wonderful job on the engineering of this. This has the new T-wing system. This has an old, actually, it might even just be round. This is just round. It's not even conical. So this is one area where, for sure, there's been a lot of improvements. But button feel on this is extremely solid. For my free spool junkies, this will be one of those where we set the side to side, I believe. Yep. So the free spool on this is going to be really good. You know, and you think about it, the grease and stuff in this is probably a little jammed up, maybe. I mean, it doesn't feel stiff, but I bet you once we get it out there and start using it a little bit, it's really going to free up even more. Look how nice that spins. I mean, it definitely seems to be much freer than this reel. I'm already really looking forward to this. So if we talk about the looks, the new Alphas, I mean, they did it right. It has kind of that modern, sexy kind of look with the black and the red, a little bit of silver accents. It looks great. But the Pixy kind of stands out in my opinion. I mean, this red is beautiful. The silver is nice. The finishing is just fantastic. And I've seen some older beat up examples and the finish still holds up well. So, you know, if I didn't think I'd enjoy this reel, I wouldn't have traded 3 Uncle Bens for it. But after holding it in my hands and checking it out, I'm kind of hopeful that it's really a solid performing reel. I kind of dig the looks and feel. It seems extremely well built. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. I could see myself having a handful of these if it performs well. So if you enjoy fishing content like this, go ahead and hit that thumbs up so YouTube can show you more of these kind of videos. And if you want to see more of the Pixy, and all my other bait finesse reels, consider subscribing. Or just keep an eye out for some of the upcoming videos throughout this fishing season. Man, I can't quit looking at it. So what do you think? Is it going to make the cut? Will I have this Pixy, or maybe even more of them, when the 2026 spring season rolls around? I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of liking it. I hadn't really planned on recording this part, but look how well this thing is packaged up. It's actually packed so well I'm struggling to figure out how to get into it. Kind of appreciate that when you're paying top dollar for something. Japanese newspaper anyway?